Welcome in to Extreme Talk, presented by Complete Real Estate, where experience and integrity matters. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Another disclaimer. As I clear my voice, you'll hear the raspiness and a little bit of hoarseness. Still had a cough all week. So powering through that, battling through that, just like these kids do every Friday night, every weekend with some of these injuries. And so we're going to push through. We're going to get the show done today. We're going to recap some of the action from this past weekend. We'll talk about the games coming up next weekend. We've got the NHSA National Rankings, and we will have Coach Jordan Flanders from Christian Community School as the interview for today. But let's go ahead and start up at the top, and if you hear me pause, it's because I turned off the mic to take a drink of water, so just be warned there, okay? Let's start in Alabama, because obviously I was a little bit behind last week and didn't get a chance to talk about Alabama. Let me fix something real quick with the stream. There you go. All right. Let's see. We'll start in the AISA. North River Christian coming in at 1-4, hosting Meadowview Christian, still looking for a win. It's been a long time since they've had a win, and they'll keep looking as the Chargers of North River Christian get the 50-24 win. Cornerstone Christian, Columbiana, they were hosting Southern Prep this weekend. What a game. What a battle between these two teams. Looking at the box score at halftime, it was 34-30 with Southern Prep in the lead. Cornerstone Christian had to put up 14 in the third compared to Southern Prep's 8. And then 8 in the fourth compared to Southern Prep's 6. So they outscored them 22-14. Yeah, 22-14 in the second half. So I had to get the comeback win for Cornerstone Christian. So congrats to them. They stay unbeaten. There for a while, it looked like Southern Prep, they were going to get the knockoff. They were going to put that one on the record. And they didn't get it done. Southern Prep moves to 3-4. And we'll mention these stats. This kid has been what was the Fairlife Core Power player of the week a couple weeks ago for offense and defense because of his performance against Springwood. Zeke Adams, 2 touchdown passes, 28 carries, 303 yards, 5 touchdown runs for that young man. Keaton Keefe and Seth Dillard each with touchdown catches. And then in terms of defense, he led the defense, 10 total tackles, 8 solos. Noah Schober and Keaton Keefe each had an interception. So big game for Cornerstone Christian. Congrats to them on the win. Southern Prep, they tried, man. They gave it a shot. And just came up just a hair short, but congrats to them on a great game as well. Another AISA team in action was Evangel Christian, and at 1-3, trying to play a little 11-man ball with Coosa Valley, who I believe Cornerstone Christian beat earlier this season. Or maybe they beat them earlier this season. Coosa Valley, a struggling 11-man team there at AISA. You would think at some point they'd make the move to 8-man, but Evangel Christian able to pull out the 28-8 win against Coosa Valley. And then Springwood taking on Lighthouse Homeschool, the Warriors. Of course, that game last year was at Springwood. I got a chance to broadcast it. It was just a barn burner of a game. This one was too, and it didn't look like it starting off. Lighthouse had a 28-14 lead at the half, and then both teams put up 2 touchdowns in the third quarter. So it's still, a trying to do some quick math, 14-point game in the fourth quarter. And then Springwood comes back and makes it an interesting game. They kept just answering, and Lighthouse holds on. Run through a couple of these stats. Springwood has not put their stats on Max Preps. But for Lighthouse, Elliott Knowles, 11 of 16, 165. And did throw an interception. Clay Boatman, 19 catches, 213 yards, and 3 touchdowns for that young man. A host of receivers with catches. Ben Hurst, Joseph White, and Daley Smith had the touchdown catches. And then in terms of defense, you're going to have Cullen White leading the team with 17 tackles, 5 solo, moves to 5-2. All right. Let's see. Next game. Let's go over to the CFA. And Cornerstone Christian Rainsville on the road in Mississippi to take on Victory Christian on Thursday night. And Eagles, well, they're both the Eagles. So Cornerstone at the half, 35-14 lead, and then a touchdown for both teams in the fourth quarter. Cornerstone had no trouble with this one, 42-20. I don't know if I mentioned the Lighthouse Springwood score. That was 50-44. So apologize for that. I didn't realize I didn't mention that score, but that was the final score there. In this one, Cornerstone 42, Victory 20. So Cornerstone Christian, another big win in conference play, and they move to 4-3 overall. Victory Christian at 2-2. That was on Thursday night. On Friday night, Tabernacle on the road at Russell, trying to pick up their second win of the year. Russell trying to get back to 500. And the Warriors come away with a 25-6 win over the Torches. I also had Tuscaloosa Christian trying to get back to 500 as well, taking on Success Unlimited Academy there in Tuscaloosa, a home game for the Warriors. And 52-14, Tuscaloosa Christian gets the win in that one. Let's jump over to the ACSC. A couple good games happening over there. I talked about the Lighthouse Springwood game. East Central on the road to take on Trinity Christian. And Patriots did not struggle at all with the Trinity Christian Homeschool Eagles. They're out of Pelham. It was 63-0 at the half, and not a lot of struggles there. Hang on a second. Let's see. Not a lot of yardage in the passing. Dominic Pafumi with 100 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns for him. Let's see. Cassian Vach had a 63-yard touchdown catch. And then Micah Smith led the team on defense, 10 tackles and 8 solos. So there you go. Just a second. Sorry about that. Let's see. Let's get back on track. East Central mentioned defensive stats, so there you go. 76-0, the final score there. Evangel Christian on the road in Montgomery taking on Ezekiel and the Lightning and the Knights. Big rivalry game, historic rivalry game. And Evangel did not struggle. 44-12 at the half, 20 second half points for Evangel, and then a touchdown in the fourth for Ezekiel. So Evangel gets the 64-18 win. And let's go down to the stats. Kemp Swords, 12 of 14, 195 yards and 3 touchdowns. On the opposite side, you have Sean Taylor, the junior quarterback for Ezekiel, 11 of 17 for 137. So not terrible numbers there. He did throw an interception and had no touchdowns. You had 2 rushing. He did have a rushing touchdown, though. You also had a rushing touchdown from Brandon Davis. Over on the Evangel side, you had Caleb Austin with 7 carries, 140 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Kemp Sword, 6 carries, 115 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then receiving, Will Welch led Evangel, 4 catches, 83 yards, and a touchdown. And you had Avery Askew with 6 catches for 97 yards for Ezekiel. And then on defense, looks like Hayden Black led Evangel, 6 tackles, 4 solos, 2.5 tackles for loss. Cole Romano had a sack. And then Zion Thompson, Zane Barlow, and Hayden Black each had an interception. For Ezekiel, that would be Sam Blount, who led the team in tackles with 6, 5 solo. Jacoby Tulis with 2 tackles for loss. But big win for Evangel Christian, 64-18. They stay unbeaten, and near the end of the show we'll talk about it, but they have got a massive game coming up this Friday night. Let's go to South Carolina, the SIFA. Augusta Eagles hosting Orangeburg Christian on Friday night. They took care of business, 48-0. Eagles get a win. They stay unbeaten on a collision course with the Pack Panthers this Friday night. So massive game there in the SIFA. Let's run through these stats real quick for Augusta Eagles. I'm guessing they didn't throw the ball any. Don't have any passing stats, but you do have Eli Petit, 4 carries, 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns. John Crane, 5 carries, 98 yards, and a touchdown. Well, they did throw the ball some. You have Peter Wilson with 3 catches, 38 yards, and a touchdown. And then on defense, that'd be John Crane, a senior, leading the team with 13 tackles, 8 solo, 2 tackles for loss. And then he also had 2 sacks. And Eli Petit had an interception. So there's that. Big win for Augusta Eagles. Harvest Christian on the road in Tennessee to take on Tri-Cities Christian, the Eagles, and the Hawks. And Tri-Cities Christian handles business against Harvest Christian. 46-22, Eagles get the win. Coastal Hurricanes on the road to take on New Hope Leadership Academy. And the Gladiators hosting Coastal Hurricanes. Gladiators with a 56-20 win at the half. They led at 24-0 and controlled the game from there. Run through a couple of these stats. Trayshawn Keller, 6 of 13, 250 for 3 touchdowns. Rushing the ball, you had Tyree Johnson, 2 carries, 50 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Donray Frierson, 5 carries, 50 yards, and a touchdown. Leron Perkins, 4 catches, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns for that junior. So that young man with a great night. And then in terms of tackles, 2 young men tied for tackles, Donray Frierson and DeMarcus Brown tied at 14. One had 9 solo, one had 5 solo. Frierson had 3 tackles for loss. And then DeMarcus Brown had the interception. So big game. A couple fumble recoveries, forced fumbles. So New Hope Leadership Academy, the Gladiators, big win for them. Let's go to North Carolina and take a look at the NCISAA. Lawrence Academy on the road, they took on Pongo Christian. And Lawrence Academy with the 51-6 win. Now let me back up to Thursday, and then I'll talk about this past Monday, because I mentioned they had some games get moved from Friday to Monday this past weekend, or weekend before. So since last week's show, there were some games on Monday, Thursday, and Friday. On Thursday, John Paul II hosted Liberty Christian and got a 63-6 win on Monday. That was on Thursday. On Monday, Halifax Academy at Northeast Academy, and Halifax with a 50-8 win. Rocky Mount Academy Eagles 62, St. David's 19, Arundel Parrott 46, Cary Christian 24, Community Christian 44, Bethel Christian 8, and Berean Baptist 54, Sandhills Classical 20. Now that was all your games on Monday. On Friday, I mentioned the Lawrence Academy Pungo. Arundel Parrott hosted Father Capodanno, and Arundel Parrott with a 76-6 win. Halifax Academy hosted Bethel Christian, 56-0 win for the Vikings, I believe. Cary Christian, they got a big win on Monday, and that put them kind of getting back on track. And Friday they picked up another win over Berean Baptist, 55-8. So Cary Christian trending back towards 500 record. Wayne Christian got a chance to talk to Coach Daniel Pugh last week. They traveled to St. David's on Friday night, and they moved to 6-1 with a 48-0 win over St. David's. So congratulations to them. And I mentioned that Cary Christian Berean Baptist game. Cary has put stats on Max Preps. We're going to shout out these young men. Reed Harvey, 13 of 14 for 273 and 5 touchdowns. Tyler Green and Cohen Johnson, both with rushing touchdowns. Braden Ronaldo, 5 catches, 102 yards and a touchdown. And then I believe it's Cole. Let me double check. Seneth Kalasiak. I apologize if I butchered your name, young man. I do apologize. Kalasiak with 2 touchdown catches, and Jake Cesars with 2 touchdown catches as well. Scroll down to defense, and it was Tyler Green and Andrew Samirsky tied with 4 tackles each. Green also had 2 tackles for loss. Samirsky, though, had a sack, and then Green had the interception. So both those young men just going back and forth. Both underclassmen, Green a junior, Samirsky a sophomore. So a bright future for Cary Christian. Let's jump over to the Heartland Conference. Oh, no. Let's hit Louisiana. There is no score for the First Baptist Christian Mount Olive Christian game on Thursday night. On Saturday, though, Acadiana Christian on the road at Southwest Louisiana Homeschool. And Acadiana Christian moves to 6-1 with a 14-0 win over SWLA. What is their team? Let's see, what is their team name? It's the Knights, I believe. Yes, Southwest Louisiana Homeschool Knights. So big win for Acadiana Christian. Let's go to the Heartland Conference and back up to Friday. Sunrise Christian 51, Crossover Prep 6. Sunrise has put stats on Max Preps. Not a lot of them, though, but they did put Wade Keller on Max Preps, 10 of 23 for 175 and 6 touchdowns for the sophomore quarterback. So Buffaloes get a big win. Destiny Christian 38, Abundant Life 13. Destiny moves to 5-1. Claremore Christian gets their first win of the year against Life Christian 58-20. And then Southwest Christian on the road in Tennessee to play Lancaster Christian. They were supposed to play Arkansas Christian. That game got canceled. And Lancaster, it was their homecoming Friday night. The team they were supposed to play, Zion Christian, backed out of the game due to injuries. And so they needed a game. Arkansas Christian backed out on Southwest. So Southwest agreed to make the trip, 2-8 win over the Lions. But great game, great atmosphere, very sportsmanlike atmosphere between the young men on both these teams. I don't think there were any personal fouls. I think both teams very well coached, very well respected coaches, and both men definitely represented themselves well. Lancaster, though, third win of the year for them. They put up 22 in the first half and then 20 in the second half, so a big win for them. I mentioned the Abundant Life Destiny Christian game and that the Wildcats from Destiny got a 38-13 win. Definitely handled business. 22-6 at the half, touchdown in the third quarter for the Wildcats, and then a touchdown for both in the fourth quarter. But Destiny Christian has put their defensive stats up. Josh Weston, the junior, with 8 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, led the team. He also had 3 sacks on the night. And then Zachary Martery had the interception. So big game, big win for Destiny Christian. And they moved to 5-1. I mentioned that. There was the Wichita Warriors and Manhattan hosting the Manhattan Eagles. Warriors get the win, 36-22. Bishop LeBlond High School up in Missouri, they hosted KC East, the Lions, and Bishop LeBlond 82-34 win over KC East. And then Cornerstone Family Saints 58-12 win over Veritas Christian there in Kansas, I believe, or Missouri. No, I think it is Kansas. So there you go. Let's see what else. A couple other games I wanted to highlight. Up in the Northern 8 Conference, want to give a shout out to Toledo Christian. Let me get them pulled up real quick. Moving to 4-2 on the season. Of course, you have Holgate High School, defending champs. They're 6-0. They Central Catholic, and 35-7 game at the half, and then 2 touchdowns in the third quarter, and a touchdown for Toledo, and then a touchdown in the fourth to kind of close things out. So the Eagles moved to 4-2 on the season. Yesterday, Sacred Heart of Jesus High School on the road to take on Riverside Christian, and the Knights coming into the game with only 11 guys was the word due to injuries. And 42-12, Sacred Heart gets the win over Riverside Christian, who was coming off of a win of their own. Sacred Heart was looking for their first win of the year, and they get it. So congratulations to Sacred Heart. That brings us to Tennessee. Let's go through Tennessee real quick. Talk about the SEEC. I mentioned Tri-Cities Christian getting the win over Harvest Christian. Tennessee Heat played an 11-man game Friday night, lost to Eagleville High School 31-9. And then the Freedom Cowboys hosted Franklin Classical School. Cowboys get the win 42-12. I believe it was 42-0 at the half. So a big solid win for Freedom to get them back in the win column. Congratulations to them. And then the last not the last team. Let's go through the TSIAA real quick. Franklin Christian on the road in Springfield to take on Innovation Academy. And the Falcons get the 43-8 win over the Sentinels. And then Grace Baptist, their homecoming game, hosting Alabama School for the Deaf. Grace got the chance to travel down to Talladega last year for that game. I believe it was the Silent Warriors homecoming. And then they made the trip up to Chattanooga to take on Grace Baptist. And the Golden Eagles get the 62-30 win over the Silent Warriors. So congratulations to them. And then speaking of the Mason-Dixon Conference and Schools for the Deaf, Tennessee School for the Deaf, they are 3-1 on the season with a 60-42 win over Mississippi School for the Deaf. So congratulations to the Vikings tearing it up there in the Mason-Dixon Conference. I know they had the loss to South Haven Christian, but then if you look at that Mason-Dixon Conference, Tennessee is 3-0 in conference play, and Alabama is 2-0 in conference play, 3-2 overall. Their 2 losses coming to Texas, and then Grace Baptist. So there you go. Like I said, they beat Oklahoma and went on the road, beat Mississippi, and then had the forfeit win over South Carolina. So congratulations to Tennessee School for the Deaf. Big season so far for them. And we'll go ahead and get set up for the interview today. After the interview, we'll go through the rankings, NHSA rankings for this season or for this weekend after this weekend's round of games. Work on getting this interview set up.
Hello.
Joining me now is the head coach of the Christian Community School Colts, Coach Jordan Flanders. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to join me.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
I'm going to jump right into it. When you guys started off your season, I don't know if the conference does the scheduling or if y'all do, but when you saw for the first time that you guys were going to be playing Franklin Christian to start the season, obviously defending champs, they have had a couple good years here now, and for your team to know that you were going to start off the season like that, probably one of your biggest tests of the season. Talk me through a little bit what you and your coaches were communicating to your guys about, starting off with a big test like that.
Well, first I called Coach Johnson over there, and we were both trying to see if we could find a later date, but it didn't work out for us, so we had to stick with week one. We excuse me.
It's all good.
Knowing
all good. I'm hoarse too, so it's all good.
So I just you're catching me after the Titans game today. We actually played a complete game.
I know. I was pretty shocked. It was a good weekend. We handled South Carolina yesterday, and then we won today. Titans won today, so there you go.
Well, I was thinking it was a good weekend because Georgia handled Auburn, but I'll let Tennessee handle South Carolina too.
There you go. But, hey, we had unfinished business against South Carolina.
Yeah, that's needed that game from last year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, guys were excited to be able to play them. Franklin Christian ended our season in the playoffs last year, and we thought we competed well, and we feel like if we could have got a couple more scores or a couple more opportunities, or made a couple more plays, I should say, in that playoff game, then we felt like we could have at least had a better chance at the end. I told our guys, I said, it doesn't matter who Franklin Christian has lost. This is going into the season. I said, Coach Johnson's team, since he has gotten there, they've been sharp, they've been polished, and they do a really good job of not beating themselves. They don't make a lot of penalties. They're not going to make a lot of turnovers. Their defense is pretty sound, and so. We had returning quarterback. We had our returning receiver. We had a returning line, so to speak. But we got new guys filling in at the line in areas, and new guy in the backfield, and so we thought we had a pretty good game plan going into playing them, and we just had a couple miscues early in the first quarter, and you look up, and I think they took the opening kickoff back for a touchdown. We had to, and then we got the ball, and I think it was second play we scored, and we had to kick back off to them. They run it's like a play action set, and we were supposed to be playing zone on defense, and we had a young guy in there playing, got confused, played man. They hit a screen right to the area where he was, and then it's 14-7, came back, and Caden tried to make a throw on offense. They picked it off, and I think they either took it to the house or they got real close and then scored. And then it's 21-7, and we're only like 4 minutes into the game. And I think the first quarter ended up being like 34-12.
Right.
And
right.
We felt like we missed a couple explosive plays there in it. So after that, though, nobody scored in the second quarter, and so again, they did what we thought we'd do. They were more polished than us week one, and they deserved to beat us. They did what they had to do, but it was certainly kept us poised going into the summer. We had a lot of guys. I'm sure they had a guy or two, out, but we had Mason Bernard out week 1.
Right.
We were limited with some of our other guys playing. Braden Thornton, who's our best tackler, he went out early in the first quarter against them, and so there's a lot of things. When you have those kind of guys go out and you got to start subbing in freshmen and sophomores against Franklin Christian, you might be asking for it a little bit. So
yeah. Well, and like you said, it seems like starting off the season with that game, some teams at times the guys can, after a game like that, just kind of fall apart, lose hope. Your guys haven't done that though. You guys have bounced back. You've won 5 straight. You've won 3 conference games, and then you've got the one coming up. I want to give you a chance to talk about some of your guys, led by Mr. CrossFit himself. You mentioned Caden. But I want to give you a chance to talk about some of your guys that have stepped up over the last 5 games and really, put y'all in a position to where I'll give a spoiler. You guys are ranked at number 4 in the NHSA rankings.
Mm-hmm. Our guys did a good job. We went back, we look at the film, and say, guys, the scoreboard was pretty wide, but here's a couple opportunities where maybe we can make this a more competitive ball game. And our guys did a good job of seeing that on film, knowing we were going to get Braden Thornton back, knowing we were going to get Mason back. We had a couple guys come back late and play with us that have had a big impact. And so we were talking as coaches the other day, there's not really a specific player. I mean, there's a couple players that jump out, but it's really just been the dynamic. Our senior leadership has done a tremendous job of just staying engaged and playing hard.
And that chemistry is a big deal too, because if you don't, you can't manufacture that chemistry.
Right, you can't, and at the end of the day, it comes down to blocking and tackling. And we've kind of had to do. Musical chairs with our O-line a little bit the first 2-3 weeks. We finally feel like we found the right groove, so to speak. And so that's really kind of enhanced everything else that we're trying to do. Miles Bernard has played really well this year offensively, but defensively he's starting to like striking. He's coming up and making hits in the run support, and that's really big.
Oh yeah.
Bowen Cornett, who helped us offensively last year, but has just had he's made a tremendous role. We play him in the slot, we play him at running back. Braden Thornton has helped us on offense, but he might be our lightest guy on defense. But he plays with.
Sometimes that just doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's a mentality thing.
It's a mentality thing with him. I mean, he's just so determined to get to you. He's real sharp. He just feels where the ball's going. And so Torrin Gilbert has been solid at center this year, and he's played defensive end. Logan Duvall, who hasn't played since his freshman year, trying to play again this year, has helped us at nose guard. Will Hinkle has again, he's not a very big guy, but he fights hard. And so the dynamic of all those guys, and Caden has really played sharp this year, just kept his composure. He doesn't get, he's FCA got him rattled a couple of series early on, and it got to us, but since then he's just been pretty composed. I mean, he's had a really good season. And so all those things, that guys understanding, where we want to get to, and not settling for the scoreboard, but settling for, we're playing ourselves here. So, if we play ourselves, we'll get better and better, because we're always trying to at least match or beat what we were before. And they've bought into that and done a good job with it this year.
Absolutely. Now, I know you took the reins in 2014. Full time, though, you've been coaching since 2015. Started 2015, you were the guy. 26 and the 9 years coaching. Instead of asking about, I want to give you a chance, because obviously there's got to be people that either you look up to or that have had a big role in that. And so I want to give you a chance to give some of those people a shout out, because I think sometimes when you hear a coaching record like that, everyone just pins it right on the coach. And when things go bad, people just want to pin it right on the coach. But there's a whole
Mhm.
crew around you, and there's been a crew around you for 9 years. Want to give you a chance to shout out some of those people.
Yeah, we've it's not a one man show. It's at least at CCS. It takes a village of coaches and assistants
Well,
and
and,
guys
and you
willing
and,
to.
and you've been successful too in getting alumni back, which is something
Yeah,
huge that some schools haven't been able to do.
yeah, we have. Starting with alumni. Nathaniel Rowley has done a great job at the middle school program, and he assists on Friday night. Colton Rollins was a really good player. Both those guys have graduated with degrees and have successful jobs that are allowing them to come back and assist. Nathan Elmer is another guy, and we've had other past alumni been able to help that aren't currently helping. But those guys always, when they're coming back, they've got a lot of energy for the program, and they're a little younger. When I took over in 2015, I was the young guy,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm becoming older now. My guys, they have to be the ones that make sure huddle's set up right for film day and things like that.
Oh man.
I'm not the savviest guy when it comes to
You, you
that, but
don't you don't realize it, but as the years go on, things change, and you're like, man, I'm trying to keep up with it. It helps
yeah,
to have those young guys, though.
it does. They know what they're doing.
Yeah,
And so that, and then um, to, Coach Thornton coming back in 2017, he's been a great energy in our program, and the guys like playing for him. And it's it's kind of coming to fruition with him too. He played for his dad
yeah,
and
yeah.
down in Florida growing up, and his dad was his coach his senior year, and then his son is playing in his senior year, and he's getting to coach him, and so I know each moment is impactful for him, but he's done a lot to carry that energy. But I'll say behind the scenes, I actually just went to a ball game with one of my assistants today. Reached out and said, "Hey, I got an extra ticket." Coach Dan Adams and Jimmy Garrett and Jeff Conquest isn't with us this year, but he's been with a long time. Look,
Yeah,
those
yeah,
guys in
yeah.
the background, and I mentioned alumni. Sam Garrett has come back, and he's helped out with the O line. But Coach Dan does a massive job on Friday setup. And if you're a head coach in this league and you're trying to do things the right way, worrying about all the small details on Friday nights takes away from focusing on the game.
Oh yeah,
Does everybody
yeah,
got Does everybody got knee pads?
yeah, yeah.
Somebody dropped a mouth guard on the way on the field. Do we have another mouth guard taped up? Does everybody have the right equipment? All those kind of things. Does our sideline set up? Do we have water running out correctly? I mean, those are all small things, but if they're not done the right way, it can take away from game planning and trying to be the
Absolutely.
best you can be. And so
Yep.
some of those background guys are huge, and so there's a lot of people that have been on the train and keeping our program running and successful since I've been in charge of just managing it. And definitely so. Definitely so. The record has my name next to it, but there's 5 or 6 men that it took all of us to kind of have this record where we're getting at this point. So
Yeah, and
uh,
that's what I was getting at is, it takes a whole team, like you were talking about, just people, even just things that seem so small, but if they're not done right, it can become a bigger thing.
right, I don't think about it because I don't have to, because
Yeah,
I know,
exactly.
on Friday night, I know Coach Dan and Coach Joshua Manfield has been an assistant the last couple of years. I know those guys are going to have everything right. We're playing on a hot game, and Coach Manny, Caden comes over and gets to play, and Coach Manny's there with a towel each time so Caden can wipe his hands.
Yep,
Small
yep.
stuff like that. Those are just details. They play a big picture. So definitely true. Definitely true. It takes a lot of people to do it right.
Well, I got to ask you about the game that's either going to be win number 70 or loss number 27, and it's against
Yeah.
and it's the Battle of 76. It's the big rivalry game, South Haven. And
Mhm.
it's at y'all's place. It's senior night, so obviously a lot of emotions around that. Um, but going into this game, what are you telling the guys to try to stay focused? And obviously, there's a lot going into this game. I don't know if you know, if you win, obviously, you guys more than likely take that number 2 seed. If you lose, you're looking at a third way tie more than likely, unless
Hmm.
innovation beats grace. So we're going to keep that on the table. But so basically, winning you're in, winning your handle business, lose and you gotta. So going into a game like this with all the emotions and the rivalry and the everything that goes into it, the proximity. What's the message to the guys?
Um, I told Coach Sawyers and Coach Crawley do a great job every year of just maximizing, um, getting the most out of their guys. I mean, their team looks complete. I mean, our team does too. Um, and there's probably a lot of them, but I feel like they just do a great job of. I mean, if you would have saw them at the Jamboree, based on now they're 5-2. Their first game was, I think, a one-score game with Grace.
Yeah, yeah.
And uh, they've
Which
lost to
which
FCA with their starting quarterback one out right before the game. That's hard to make up for. But I mean, they're 5-2, won 5 out of the last 6, and they're playing really well at the right time. And
See, that sounds
uh,
like a coach that's done his homework. He knows they won the last 5 of 6.
yeah, I mean, you tell your guys. I mean, we're playing ourselves because that's the only person you really need to worry about playing.
Yeah,
But um, South Haven's a good opponent, and we're going to get their best shot. I feel like we get their best shot every year,
yeah, yeah.
and it helps. We're close proximity. If they're off on a Friday night, somehow I tend to see some of them South Haven kids up there. I'm sure some of our guys have roamed down there when we've been off, and it's a big game. We win, we handle business. If if they win, I think it may be a three-way tie for third or second. I'm not sure whichever one it is. I'm not sure if
It
Grace and Lancaster have played yet or not, but
they did. Grace. Well, no, Grace hasn't played Lancaster yet. You're right.
yeah. So that'll have an influence too. But they're tough. They're physical. Um,
With
it took us a while to pull it out last year, and we've lost some of that firepower. And so, we've got different guys playing, and they're getting guys in the right spaces
yeah,
to do stuff. Some coaches get stuck on scheme. They do a good job of getting the ball in their playmakers' hands on right situations, and so it's going to be a good game. It'll be emotional.
yep,
I've got guys playing Friday night that have been involved and played football for CCS as seniors. They've been playing since sixth grade.
yep,
I mean,
yep.
6 or 7 years out, and you're walking out and you're like, man, this is. I tell them soak it in. Look around every now and then. When we have 5 seconds off, and just kind of take it in, because this is it. But this is also what you're going to talk about for a while. You're going to tell your
Exactly.
kid
Yep.
about this 10 years from now. So, um, it'll be fun. It'll be exciting. It's going to be a great game, great atmosphere.
Now, assuming that 3 way tie happens, what are the do you know what the tiebreaker situation would be, or is it
Well, I mean, I think you start with what everybody's record is against the higher seed. FCA, of course, hasn't lost a game,
right?
so I think it would take South Haven would beat us. If South Haven wins, then that would put South Haven at 2 losses in the league, CCS at 2 losses in the league, and then if Grace were to beat Lancaster, it'd be 2 losses in the league. So then
Yep, yep.
it would basically go to a coin flip, unfortunately,
Oh
and
man,
so um, you flip a coin, and I think odd man out is the higher seed. So like if Grace was heads and CCS and South Haven were both tails, then heads would be the number 2, and then the 2 teams with tails would go to who won the head-to-head matchup there,
yeah,
and then they would seed that way. And so um, it's hard to decide who gets that, and
yeah, yeah.
but nobody's missing out on the playoffs. It's just a matter of seeding, and
Right,
so
right.
that's why we hopefully tell guys let's control what we can control, and right now we're in control, and we need to try to handle our business as best we can on Friday night. So
Speaking of the playoffs, everyone in, obviously innovation, they still have to play Grace. Let's say they lose, let's say things aren't going their way.
hmm
And let's say you guys end up matching up with them and they're coming to your place. Obviously, you guys just beat them a couple weeks ago, but how do you coach the guys to a point where they don't overlook a game like that? Obviously, you guys have the talent, but
hmm
anything can happen on a Friday night. How do you coach the guys to where they don't overlook a team like that?
it just goes. I mean, it's going to sound like I'm a broken record, but it just goes back to you've got to play. You've got to play
No,
yourself, like
that's
play to your
completely
standard.
fair. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't go in. We played Innovation a few weeks ago, and we knew they've got some good players over there, and they just a first year team, and they're trying to get things figured out and get polished. And I thought we did a really good job of playing to our standard. There was a couple miscues defensively, and we had a couple offensive plays that hurt us, but for the most part, we came out and looked pretty polished. I don't know if it was 40-8 or 48-8 at halftime or something like that, but you just have to play your standard. You can't play who you're playing. Now, come playoff time, you've got to play, tendencies to a point, but that's my job as a coach is to call the tendency that I see. They've still got to play what they're supposed to do on that play, and so,
Right. Right.
um, yeah, it's. um, basically Friday night starts to play. You can almost look at it like seniors. If you win, you get to keep playing on your field.
Right.
And
Right.
so the championship game will be at CCS this year, whether we play in it or not. But if we win out, guys, you have opportunity to just finish your career on this field.
Yep.
You need to try to make that happen. And so, hopefully that'll be a little bit of extra motivation.
Which of course you guys are 1-0 in championship games on your field. So there you go.
Yeah, I hope that would stay on our side, but we've got another month before that even comes up. So,
Now,
uh,
now I got to ask you about it. The history, of course, 2017. You guys played South Haven for the
mhm.
championship. You didn't win, but you felt like the way your season went, your team. Obviously you felt like, hey, let's go try our luck in Florida. You guys ranked at number 4, and I don't want you to think too far down the road. And if it is, then just shut it
Yeah.
down. But you're ranked at number 4. You've only got the one loss. You potentially could make it to the championship, win or loss. Has that conversation come up at all about Florida, or could it?
Um, no, not right now. It hasn't.
I
It
got you.
hasn't. We're trying to um, we're trying to get into. We got to win Friday night to solidify our seed, and then regardless of who we play in the first round, we're going to play a team that probably feels like they should have got us, and we just had their number when we played in the regular season. Any testament you bring up 2017. I mean, 2017 we beat FCA in the regular season by 32, and then we play them at home in the playoffs. Of course, it's raining. It's absolute monsoon coming through, and we end up barely squeaking out that win by 2 points.
Oh, it was
After
it
we
was
beat
it
them
was
by
a crazy
32.
game. I was there. Yeah.
It was crazy game. And so then you go play South Haven for the championship, a team that you had beat by 30 something in the regular season. But you've got a couple guys suspended. You've got guys coming off of hypothermia. Your quarterback gets hurt play
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
drive one. So it doesn't matter what you did the first time. It matters what are you going to do the second time. What are you doing now? And so um, the motivating factors you talk about. What happens if you face a team you've beaten well before. It don't matter. Playoffs are different. It's a brand new season, and so anything can happen. We've been at that at the wrong side of anything can happen moment. So hopefully, and a lot of these guys, these seniors, saw that 2017 moment,
Yep. Yep.
and they understand that anything can happen, and you just have to stay sharp and not overlook anything.
Well, not
So
just the players. Some of those assistants you talk about, Colton and Tiny, and those guys
hmm
that were on the team.
yeah, yeah, they'll be there. I mean, our excited for the playoff run. Our middle school is playing in the championship game next Saturday.
Yep.
They'll either
Yep.
host the winner of Grace and FCA from tomorrow night. But you know, after Saturday, I get some of those middle school guys can come up and be full-time assistants for the remainder of the varsity season, and then I'm looking forward to their input and assistance for us as we keep marching on and trying to finish the year. We hope we can finish it the way we want to finish.
Yeah, absolutely. Last thing I want to ask you about is you mentioned that middle school program. You guys have had a successful middle school program for a while, playing in championship games and not losing a ton of games. I want you to talk about the importance of that in terms of getting the guys in the system, keeping them in the system, and then by the time your team, guys on your team, Mason Bernard, Caden Poulin, all those guys played in your middle school system and came up. I want you to talk about the importance of that real quick.
Yeah, you cannot have there is no successful varsity football program that does not have a successful feeder program.
Absolutely.
And
yep.
You don't have to measure the success of your feeder program by whether they win or not, but it's are you getting kids that have been taught the right technique, taught the right fundamentals, or are you having to break down and teach them all over again?
Yep.
And that's the big thing. A lot of Coach Riley and those guys played Providence Christian in the championship game last year. But we have Braxton Pugh's a freshman. He's starting on defense. He gets reps on offense. Asher Poland gets a lot of reps on offense and defense. Mylon Bernard gets a lot of reps on offense. There's freshmen that played on last year's team, but because they're taught well, they're able to transition. The speed's a lot faster, but they've been able to help us this year. I mean, Braxton starts at corner.
Yeah.
And so for a team that's trying, to make a run in the playoffs and finish off the season right, that doesn't happen if he doesn't have 2 or 3 years of experience down in that feeder program. And so you look at your teams around the league and teams and schools that have, maybe folded or had to take a year off from football or struggle with numbers. And sometimes it's just a matter of where your program's at. But you look at the schools that have feeder programs, those are the guys that are consistently fielding fuller varsity football teams, that's the big thing for schools. The feeder program, man, you need it. And it's not just somebody you send whoever down there to coach. You need it. You need quality coaches down at the middle school level. It's just as important to having quality coaches at the varsity level, because if you get them with a bunch of bad habits, you're spending a while unteaching them and then reteaching them.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, definitely right. Feeder programs are big.
Last thing I want to hit you with, your first season as a head coach, I want to run through your schedule, and just to remind you how long you've been coaching. So you started with Franklin Christian.
Yeah.
Obviously, they still have football. And then you went to Bowling Green, no football. Hendersonville, no football. Webb, it's 11 man, but yeah. Tennessee Heat, Sacred Heart, South Haven, and the Lighthouse Christian, no football. So you as a coach have played your first season 4 teams that don't have football anymore. Just to put everything in perspective for you. Just wanted to do that for you there.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
It's a lot.
Absolutely. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to join me, and looking forward to seeing what you guys do Friday night with South Haven. Big win in your end game. So I appreciate you joining me.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. You too. Coach Jordan Flanders from Christian Community School. Always fun to talk to him, and one of the first coaches, alumni, to go back and coach his alma mater. Always a special opportunity to do that. And so there you go. All right, let's talk about those NHSA rankings. I mentioned that CCS is ranked at number 4. Let's run through these after I get a drink of water. All right. So, obviously, let's see if the top 10 has changed any. There's been a little bit of movement. So the only change, 1 is Evangel Christian, 2 is Franklin Christian, 3 is Lighthouse Warriors, 4 is Christian Community, 5 is Pack Panthers, 6 is Jacksonville Christian, 7 is Fort Wayne King Crusaders, 8 is the Tennessee Heat, who got the win Well, they lost this past weekend in an 11-man game. They are number 8 in Ezekiel after they lost to Evangel. They have dropped down to number 11. And then Cornerstone Christian Columbiana still at number 9. Springwood moves from 11 to 10. So Heat went up to 8. Ezekiel dropped to 11. And then Springwood went up from 11 to 10. So just a little bit of movement there in the bottom of the top 10. And then Freedom Cowboys are still at 12. Grace has moved up to number 13 from 15. South Haven Christian has dropped to number 14. JPG from Louisiana drops to 15. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, they dropped to 15. East Central is at number 16, where they were originally. Augusta Eagles at 17. Cornerstone Christian Rainsville 18. Lancaster Christian out of Smyrna jumped from 23 to 19 with a win Friday night. Acadiana Christian at number 20, down from number 19. Russell drops from 20 to 21. So Lancaster moving up to 19 pretty much bumped quite a few teams down. 21 Russell Christian, 22 Southern Prep, 23 Franklin Classical, 24 Tri-Cities, and 25 Tabernacle. So there's your top 25 for the NHSA rankings. Let's see. I'm going to step aside for just a moment, and then when I come back, we will preview the games coming up this weekend. Some big ones. Some matchups in the NHSA top 10. That's how big some of these games are. We'll talk about that coming up here on Extreme Talk, presented by Complete Real Estate. Welcome back to Extreme Talk, presented by Complete Real Estate. All right, let's run through the games coming up this weekend. Once I find my phone. All right. Let's get them pulled up real quick. And something I did want to mention, well, I guess it would help if I put my mic closer to my mouth. Something I did want to mention, I want to give a big shout out and a big thank you to everyone who has stepped up in terms of the Max Preps quick scoring. Y'all are awesome. The amount of scores that I see on Friday nights from updating games, just incredible. You guys are awesome. So give yourselves a hand. I can't hear you give yourself a hand, but there you go. I'll give you a hand from here. There you go. All right. So, coming up Friday night, let's start, as always. Let's just start in the AISA. Southern Prep Academy, they are hosting the Carolina Wildcats out of Pickens, South Carolina. Southern Prep comes in at 3-4. Wildcats come in at 3-3. And I'm going to pull up the rankings. Just out of curiosity, I would just like to know what number is playing what number. Okay, so this one is, well, Carolina Wildcats unranked, and then Southern Prep is number 22 at 3-4. I think this has them at 3-3, but they are 3-4. Evangel Christian Montgomery, they are hosting Southern Christian. Evangel Christian Montgomery 2-3, Southern Christian 1-3. Evangel Christian Lions at number 26. And then Southern Christian, let's see where they at. They are at number 29. So there you go. Russell Christian, they are on the road at North River Christian. Russell coming in at 3-3. North River coming in at 2-4. Russell ranked number 21. And then North River ranked number 35. Meadowview Christian on the road at Tuscaloosa Christian. So pretty much every AISA team is playing somebody out of conference. Tuscaloosa Christian at number 27. And Meadowview, let's see, they are not on the rankings. So there you go. Trinity Christian Homeschool Eagles, they are down at number 42. And they are on the road at Cornerstone Christian Columbiana at number 9. So that'll be a big one there. And then Springwood School, they are on the road at Windsor Academy in Georgia. This is a rematch of a game last year between the two of them. Springwood coming in at number 10. They are 5-2 at Windsor Academy at 4-1. Let's go to the CFA, the Christian Football Association. Russell Christian, I mentioned they're on the road at North River. Meadowview is at Tuscaloosa Christian. And then a couple interconference games. Success Unlimited is at Jacksonville Christian. Success Unlimited at number 41. And Jacksonville up at number 6. Victory Christian is at Tabernacle this week. Tabernacle trying to get win number 2. Victory sitting at 500. Victory is at number 32 on the NHSA rankings. And Tabernacle at number 25. Presumably due to strength of schedule, I would think. Let's go to the ACSC. I mentioned Southern Christian and Evangel. I mentioned, let's see, a couple interconference games. Ezekiel Academy is at East Central in an ACSC matchup, conference matchup here. Ezekiel at number 11 and East Central at number 16. So number 11 versus number 16, big matchup here in the ACSC Freedom Cowboys on the road at Lighthouse, at the Lighthouse Warriors. Warriors had Springwood on the ropes. Springwood able to climb back in the game. Cowboys in a season where they are 3-3 right now. And so they're sitting at 500. Lighthouse's only loss to Evangel Christian. And so this will be a big test for Freedom on the road. Freedom sitting at number 12. Lighthouse sitting at number 3. And, of course, Freedom's losses were to Evangel Christian at number 1, Franklin Christian at number 2, and then Ezekiel Academy, I believe. Hang on, let me double check. I think it was to Ezekiel. Yeah, 38-34 to Ezekiel, who is number 11, so right above them. And then the game that everyone is talking about, or will be talking about, this is a big matchup. I know Evangel and Lighthouse was a big matchup a couple weeks ago, more of an inter-Alabama matchup. This is a big Tennessee-Alabama matchup. Evangel Christian, they are on the road at 8-0, number 1 in the NHSA. They are taking on Franklin Christian at 6-0, at number 2 in the NHSA. Now, this game will have multiple broadcasts, I believe. Both schools have a broadcast. So 2 broadcasts of this game. If you can't make it, you can watch it live from 2 different perspectives, 2 different commentary. Obviously, both will be a little biased. If you can make it in person, I think it'll be a great atmosphere. So, but this is a big one. This is a huge game in terms of, between states. And it's number 1 versus number 2. I think this has happened a couple other times over the last couple of years in these rankings. And so it's a big, big matchup. Can't overstate that. Let's jump to the SIFA for this Friday night. New Hope Leadership Academy. They are at Harvest Christian, and New Hope not ranked, and Harvest sitting at number 36 on the NHSA rankings. Orangeburg Christian, they are at the Coastal Hurricanes. On Max Preps, it's Coastal Homeschool. Orangeburg coming in at number 43 at the bottom, and then Coastal Hurricanes at number 39 on the rankings. So 39 versus 43. The big one in South Carolina, big interconference game. Augusta Eagles, 6-0. They are number 17 in the NHSA rankings, and they are taking on the Pack Panthers at number 5 at 7-1. So a huge matchup here. Pack Panthers off this past week. Augusta Eagles got a big win. So this is a big one. This is a big one. Victory Christian, they are on the road at Monsignor Donovan Catholic, and I think they are out of Georgia. So there you go. They are coming in at 0-5. Victory Christian at 2-4, and they are not on the NHSA rankings. So there you go. Let's go to Louisiana. On Thursday, First Baptist Christian at 0-5. They are not ranked on the NHSA rankings. They are at the North Shore Vultures, who are at number 38 at 3-4. Acadiana Christian, they are 6-1, and they are on the road to take on Mount Olive Christian. Acadiana Christian at number 20, and Mount Olive down at number 40. So a big matchup. Acadiana trying to get the win. And then Southwest Louisiana Homeschool at number 30. They are on the road at JPG, John Paul the Great Academy there in Louisiana, who are at number 15 at 4-1. So a big, big game here there in Louisiana. Let's jump to North Carolina. And of course, these teams will not be ranked by the NHSA. Their championship is after the tournament, I believe. But on Thursday, Lee Christian out of North Carolina. They are at Father Capodanno. Lee Christian at 0-4. Capodanno at 1-5 rather. On Friday, Rocky Mount Academy 4-2. They are at Liberty Christian. Faith Christian at 4-1. They are at Wayne Christian at 6-1. This is a big one. They're in the NCISAA. Arundel Parrott Academy. They are at JP2. Both teams at 4-2, and this is a rematch of the championship game last year in the NCISAA. And so that'll be a big one. Patriots and Bulldogs, I believe. Let me double check. I know it is the Saints. I'm sorry, the JP2 Saints. Their logo is a bulldog, so throws you off a little bit. Saints and Patriots squaring off on Friday night. Then Pungo Christian, they are at Northeast Academy, both at 3-2, playing on Friday night. And then on Saturday, little afternoon action, Lawrence Academy and Bethel Christian. Lawrence at 3-2, Bethel at 0-2. So that game coming up on Saturday, that'll be a big one. In the Heartland Christian Athletic Conference, Claremore Christian at Crossover Prep. Claremore 1-3, Crossover Prep 2-2. Southwest Christian Abundant Life. This is a big rivalry game. Southwest at 1-4. It says 2-4, but they're counting a forfeit win over Arkansas Christian. Abundant Life 4-1. So this will be a big rivalry game there. Life Christian 1-4. They're on the road at Cross Christian at 3-0. And then on Saturday, scheduled as of right now, Cornerstone Spartans. They're on the road at Northland Christian. Cornerstone 2-4. Northland 1-5. So big game there. And then Destiny Christian at 5-1 coming out of Del City, Oklahoma. They're on the road to Texarkana, Arkansas, to take on Trinity Christian. And I am curious, Del City, Oklahoma to Texarkana. Uh, 4 hours and 45 minutes. That's wild. The quickest ride is 4 hours and 36 minutes. So that's wild. That's a lot of travel. I did hear the Southwest Christian coach, of course, Lancaster asked him, hey, do you travel? It's a 5-hour trip from Little Rock to Nashville. And he asked him if he traveled. And, of course, Southwest coach said, man, have you seen our conference? You know, of course, they played Cornerstone Spartans earlier this year, not in the conference, but that was a 4-hour drive to Joplin, Missouri. A little bit of travel there. So you guys belly aching over, hour and a half, 2-hour drives. Let's calm down just a little bit here. All right. Let's back up. Jumping over to the Kansas Christian Athletic Association, KC East Lions, they are at Veritas Christian. KC East 2-4, Veritas Christian at 0-4. Cornerstone Family Saints 2-4, they are on the road at Sunrise Christian 4-1. And then Life Prep at 1-3. They're at the Wichita Warriors, who come in at 4-0. So Wichita looking to stay unbeaten so far. Let's jump to, I think I forgot to mention, let's see. Let's jump over to the Northern 8 Conference. Toledo Christian Holgate, that's a big one. Holgate 6-0, Toledo Christian 4-2. Let's see, St. Mary Central Catholic 3-3, Danbury 1-4, McKinley 0-4, at Stryker 1-5. Let's see. Let's go to Tennessee. I mentioned Evangel and Franklin Christian. Grace Baptist they'll be on the road in Springfield. Second trip to Springfield of the season for them. Grace at 5-2, and they are at Innovation Academy, who is 0-5. And then, of course, the big game we talked to Coach Flanders about, South Haven Christian 5-2 at Christian Community at 5-1. That's a big conference game there. A win would put Christian Community in the second seed. A loss and then a South Haven win, and then Grace beating both Innovation and Lancaster would create a three-way tie. Yeah, would create a three-way tie. And Coach mentioned it. It'd come down to a coin toss. Hate it for the kids. You really do. You would think you could do point differential or first half point differential. I know that's what the CFA does. In the SEEC, it's point differential, total score. ACSC, total score point differential. So there's a bunch of ways to do it. Bunch of ways to do it that don't involve George Washington. If CCS beats South Haven, and then Lancaster does end up beating Grace, then Grace, South Haven, and Lancaster all at 2-3. And I believe it would come down to a coin toss as well. So there you go. Meanwhile, in Alabama, the CFA point differential pretty much has their situation sorted out. I'll talk through the ACSC, the CFA, and the AISA playoff situation probably next week. Try to run through it a little bit and talk through it. But also, I mentioned the Grace Innovation game, South Haven Christian Community. Let's go to the SEEC. A couple big games. Zion Christian, they are at the Tennessee Heat. Zion 1-6, Tennessee Heat 4-4. I believe the NHSA rankings set them at 4-3. Now 4-4 with the loss to Eagleville overall on the season. 4-1 in 8-man football, 4-0 in Tennessee. And then another big one. This is a big one, the SEC. Franklin Classical, 3-3. They are on the road at Tri-Cities Christian, and this is how it was last year. It came down to these two teams playing, albeit on the last weekend of the season. But it came down to these two teams playing to determine who was going to get in the playoffs, and Classical got the win. Tri-Cities, first-year team trying to build. Classical able to handle business. Tri-Cities, though, comes in with a better overall record. 4-2. Classical at 3-3. This will be an interesting one. Tri-Cities, if Tri-Cities wins, and let's say Freedom can get the number 1 seed in the other division, first ever matchup, Tri-Cities and Freedom. So that'll be a fun situation. We'll see how all that plays out. Let's look through the games coming up real quick to see. Do want to give a shout out, congratulations to Mississippi Phoenix Sports Academy. They are 3-3 with a 36-0 win this past Friday night. And then they will be hosting Kemper Academy there in Mississippi. The Phoenix at 3-3, and then Kemper coming in at 2-5. So a big congratulations to MPSA. Let's see. I know we have all these games. Let's run through these games in Georgia and Mississippi real quick. We'll run through them. I don't know if I gave any of the finals. I don't think I did. I'll tell you what I'm going to do with that, though. If you guys, I don't know if you know, if you go to Max Preps, download the Max Preps app, okay? Because that's really how you should be dealing with Max Preps. If you go to the Max Preps app, go to the far right on the main screen. You'll have the home screen with all the pictures and videos and all that. Go to scores, and then you'll see the dates, and you'll see where you can add your favorite teams. Actually, go hit add scoreboard, and then you can add football. You can add your state. So let's say we're going to add the state of Alabama. And then you can filter by. Now they have town areas. They have regions, which is a little more specific. They have classes. So you can do Class 8-man or associations. So like in Alabama, it's just the AHSAA. But class, you can do Class 8-man, Class AISA 8-man. You could split it up to do the ACSC, the CFA, and the AISA. So there's many different ways you can do it. But go to Max Preps and do that. Go download some of the go look up some of the games. It's very, very helpful. It's what I use on Friday nights to look through all of the games that are happening in 8-man football. So there you go. I think that just about does it for the show. I want to give a big thank you to Complete Real Estate, where experience and integrity matters. I want to give a big thank you to Coach Jordan Flanders for jumping on the show, and then obviously a big thank you to the NHSA for letting us break the rankings. Some good football coming up this weekend, folks. Go catch a game. Go do some score reporting. We'll talk to you next week. See ya!